Welcome to another episode of Building Returns hosted by Radio W.O.R.K.S. My name is John Stokoe, and my business partner and I founded Source My Property, which is a property development and investment portfolio building firm in South Wales of the United Kingdom. This radio show is called Building Returns, and it's all about the movers and shakers in the property and real estate industry globally. My role here is to showcase those that are doing things differently and they're doing things better than anybody else. And I'm here to share their original flavor and get their story out so you can know how they're doing it. Tonight, I have the honor to host a property entrepreneur, an all-round good guy, Mr. Richard Peutherer from Inspired Equity. Good evening, Richard. How are you this evening?
I'm very well, thanks, John. Good evening, and thank you for having me on the show.
Only a pleasure. Great to have you. Before we get into the thick of it and start talking about the business side of stuff, can you give our listeners a brief insight into Richard and your history and makeup getting you to where you are today?
Goodness me. Okay. Yes, I certainly can. So originally a career person working in the corporate world, and I'd always seen myself climbing that corporate ladder, worked with many global organisations, banks, HSBC, Barclays Capital and such like. However, realised that there might be more to life, and I had a love for property, and realised that also that in the career you can head towards a pension that might not actually fulfil your needs later on in life. So I started looking at other ways I might be able to create an income and a lifestyle. And with my love of property, this is the niche that I've now found myself in.
Okay, fantastic. And can you explain to our viewers, in your own words, what your business is, how you've got, what you're actually doing right now, what your business is called, and what it does?
Yeah, sure. Well, I have two businesses, actually. The first one, Inspired Equity. It's a property acquisition and development organisation. We create our revenue through two main streams. Firstly, by acquiring a property and adding significant value by either renovation or actually changing the use or purpose of that building. And the other revenue stream is to create high-yielding, very high-quality properties for the rental market, so it gives us a revenue stream.
And where do you do that, Richard?
Sorry?
Where do you do that? Whereabouts in the UK?
We have a number of different locations. We're mainly focused in Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. We do have a development in North London. We're doing some projects in South Wales, and we're also in Manchester and Liverpool. We've got some exciting new projects in the pipeline that we're currently negotiating in that area too. So not completely national yet, but certainly got a good geographical spread.
That's fantastic. Now, with you being so widely spread, how do you get that done? Who is in your business? What is your business structure? And what enables you to be that widely spread and successful?
Having come from a corporate world where I had a team of people that were actually working within a business for me, it actually came quite naturally to be able to develop a business that allowed me to have the same fundamentals. So the important part for me is building that team, getting the right people around me. They understand the mission, the goal, the vision of my business, and then I let them go out and actually fulfill that within our business. So it's empowerment. We have to go through that process of trust. But once you've gone through that process of trust, you've got the right people behind you. It's just a scalable thing. So for me, I don't want to be able to work just on one project, because that just makes me feel that we're not actually progressing as much as we should do. Multiple projects are fine. Controls, checks are in place to make sure that everyone working on behalf of the company, whether they're employed or subcontractor, service partner, supplier, they understand what we want as a business so they can actually promote our brand, and then we get the right result in the end.
So you feel that selling the vision is essential in working with these partners. Is that right?
Absolutely, indeed. We, from the outset on any relationship, will always set out expectations. This is, as I say, from either a staff member or when we're working with, for example, new project managers, new quantity surveyors, new build teams. We want to make sure that they understand how we're going to measure that project. So there's expectations are clearly set. And then through checkpoints and processes to make sure that we're on budget, on time, and making sure that the project is generally on track for the resulting unit that we're set out to achieve, that things happen as they should do. Okay.
Richard, you again, we mentioned you're quite widely spread. Who has inspired equity? Who is in the business? Just yourself?
No, I founded the business with my wife, Nina. We do now have staff, but the actual company is run by the both of us.
Okay. And do you have varying roles, or do you tackle stuff together, or how do you work at it together?
We most certainly have separate roles within the organisation. That's something that we had to establish very early on. One of the great benefits of working and running a business with your wife is the fact that you're running your business with your wife. You also have to remember that you're running your business with your wife. And so business, we have our defined roles within the organisation, and we don't tread on each other's toes as we wouldn't if we worked together in a job. We try to make sure that we are separating that, so we don't talk about business over dinner. We are formal in that we will, if we need to have a discussion about something, it's done in the format of a meeting rather than a work and life just merge into one, because it's important that we get that downtime as well. But yeah, we've been together 19 years this year. And we always said that if we ever worked together, we'd probably kill each other. As far as I can tell, we're both still alive. So it's been great fun.
You're obviously doing really well. And from the size and the scope of the project that you mentioned, it's obviously a successful relationship, because business is all about relationships, and you wouldn't be that far and wide and successful without a supporting partner that you have there. So Nina, wherever you are, if you're around the corner or just watching in on this, obviously congratulations and well done for supporting and having a successful relationship. Brilliant stuff.
That's right.
What sort of numbers can we talk about without giving away too much of the game, Richard? What sort of size projects are we looking at? And if you can give me generic sort of stuff that you're working on.
Yeah, sure. If a project is right, within certain boundaries, we don't say it's too small. For example, the largest one we have on the go at the moment, the GDV, gross development value, is 3.6 million.
Okay.
But at the same time, we have a flip on the go that we acquired for 50,000, and it's being sold at around about 90,000. So sure. We don't go for the major projects because 30, 40, 50 units takes a lot of effort, and we'd much rather do multiple projects that can actually give us the returns. But anything that's within our gift, the project is right, and as I say, we've got one at 50,000 at the moment that was the purchase price, and one with a development value at the moment on the books at 3.6 million as well. So anything in
So those are sort of capital projects that you're working on, sort of capital returns that you're after. You mentioned early on in the show that you also keen to look at creating income streams or returns monthly through rental properties.
Yes.
What sort of deals, what sort of numbers are you looking there, Richard?
We love HMOs, houses of multiple occupation. I prefer to call them co-living because of that stigma with bed sits, and the properties we create are as good as, if not better than, hotel rooms. We do them to an incredibly high standard. We typically go for modern townhouses because they're very easy to reconfigure. They're typically in newer estates, lots of parking and open rooms that just give us a bit more space to work with. Those are the ones that give us the great revenue streams or the monthly income within the business, which then allows us to go out and do the capital creation projects. HMOs we will continue to do. It's almost like a reflex action within the business now. Those just go on as a matter of course, and then the projects are fun. I love standing back and looking at a project when it's done and saying, we created that.
That's fantastic. So the vision realization is what motivates you.
Oh, absolutely.
No, that's good. It's really interesting that you have that split strategy, Richard. So many people that I speak to are happy and satisfied in their own single direction, but I think you, very similar to the way that I look at it, is having multiple different strategies and multiple different income streams support you, challenge you, and help you grow. My personal view, also a subject we'll get onto just now, it helps expand and build your network. And you can go slightly wide on everything, and then you'll start defining exactly what it is within which each one of those strategies that makes you different, that makes you successful. You were talking about doing your HMOs to a high standard. You talk about them being in new development areas, and I'm sure that speed is of the essence. I know there's people that'll take a house, gut it, renovate it, but they'll take a long time to get that project back and turning on income. So in that case, the capital expenditure and then the return on that capital is extended for a much longer time. So from your point of view, yes, you're doing it to a high standard, but you're doing it over a shorter period of time, therefore realizing a quicker return on your investment. Am I right in guesstimating that?
Absolutely. Our average time from picking up the keys for the property to it being fully tenanted, not the work being done, is less than a month.
Well, that's on an HMO. That's not on a regular buy-to-let.
That's on an HMO. So all legislation, we operate mainly in areas that have additional licensing. So all of them have to go through licensing in our portfolio. The local borough council love our properties. We do them to such a high specification. We get on the after the inspection feedback such as exemplary or outstanding, and they know that when they're going to see an inspired equity HMO, what to expect. The last one that we finished on, our managing agent advertised it at 10 a.m. By 5 p.m. all the rooms are gone, and we're getting above market.
How many rooms? How many rooms?
6 rooms.
Wow, that's really impressive. I mean, there's two fundamental dynamics that affect a business return, and they are time and money. So you're achieving higher than average returns because of the quality. However, your input of time is dramatically reduced. So therefore, dramatically increases your return on time and money. And that's exactly why you're in business.
Exactly. I'm quite linear in my approach, and in terms of project planning, everything is geared up. Everyone knows their roles, their responsibility. The project plan is set. A number of the HMOs, by the time I get my set of keys, it's fully tenanted, so I can't even go and see the property. That's how slick we've got the process. My guys go and pick up the keys from the estate agent that the property's been purchased from. They know exactly what's to be due to be done. The work gets done. The managing agent steps in because they're speaking regularly with the team that are doing the conversion work. Then they tenant it. So it's a nice model, and one that we like to replicate because, as you say, time is of the essence, and the speed at which we work to and my team work to is exceptional. Absolutely,
essential part. And I think for everybody that's listening right now, everybody that I've spoken to, and I know for myself included, one of the most important things to be able to exercise this shortening of time is the power team. People talk about power team and it's your network and all the rest. And for anybody that's starting out, you need to put your power team together early. From your power team, you're getting trust, you're getting time, you're getting the leverage of their experience. And when you have that, they can make decisions and speed up the turnaround of these properties, put them back on the market. If you want to sell them, put them back on the market from a rental perspective. These are the people that enable that trust. And this is why Inspired Equity is Richard and Nina. Yes, there's a bigger team that sits underneath them, but essentially it's you guys that are running a shop. And you don't have to have the weight and the legacy of a huge organization that sits behind you to make this happen. You're light and nimble, sitting on the top and creating things, and with your trusted team are able to turn around and regenerate these properties as quick as possible, which is awesome to see. Now, Richard, there's another point. People that novices or that may be watching the show are probably thinking, oh, well, he's got huge money behind him and all the rest to be able to go and do that. I know, and you know, that that's not always the case. No money down deals. Everybody thinks it's a fallacy. Oh, it's never been done. How can I get in the property industry? I haven't got any money and all the rest. How do you guys do these $1 million pound deals without using any of your own money? From 50 to million, how do you?
There's no one answer to that, I guess. We work with a number of investors, and it's very important that we do. The situation is, though, that I've actually never asked for money, but we just have an enthusiastic way about our business. And you mentioned networking; that's been key to us. There's one example actually that's probably a very good one. There's the £3.6 million opportunity that I mentioned, the largest one at the moment. That one is a mixture of a JV partner with the owner, vendor finance with the owner, tied up on an option contract, so we can actually mobilise the deal. Now, there's personal guarantees from me, so it's not as if I have no skin in the game. But sure. I won't go through all the numbers on the show now. But it's just talking with people. Today I've been in a meeting with someone who's a substantial property that I'm buying from them. There are some structural issues, and through discussing it with him, I knew his insurance would cover that. And so I'm paying him a bit more for the building now, but he's having all the structural work done under his insurance. So I met with the loss adjuster today from his insurance company, the company that's going to do the work, him, the agent, as there's 5 of us, and we just reached agreement. And so just having a conversation with people. For that same, I bought another property off that same person, and we talked about him vendor financing it because he was selling a property that it wasn't his home, it was going to be cash for him, and I talked to him about I can give you greater returns on your the money that's being released as part of the sale.
Okay. Can you explain what vendor financing is in layman's terms?
Yeah, of course. So if somebody is selling their property and maybe it's unencumbered, or they are, as a process of the sale, releasing a lot of equity, they might not have plans for the equity or the entire sale proceeds. So it might just go and sit in a bank earning very little interest. That's where you can have a conversation with them about vendor finance, where they are actually providing the equity you need to fund the deal.
Okay. And is that through a clever company structure where you become joint shareholders or something like that?
There are a number of ways in which you can do that. So yes, you could put security in against the property. You could, if you're buying that property in a limited company, give them a debenture or shareholding in that company. It could be a loan into the business that you contract to, so there's security against the funds that way. Many ways of doing it, and there are some more there's some complexities to it as well. Yeah, there's just so many options, and I could probably talk for the entire show and some about how.
Let's go through a couple quickly. You mentioned lease options. Do you want to explain to the viewers what a lease option is, very briefly?
Yeah, it's in simple terms, it's you securing a contract on a property, be it land or a building, that gives you the right to purchase it, but you don't have to purchase it. So you have to be sold it if you want it, but you don't have to buy it if you don't want it. Now, the advantage of that is that there might be a consideration fee that you have to give the vendor, but you don't have to go through the traditional process of purchasing the property first. So it's great for, let's say, obtaining planning permission or taking control of a property that you want to actually take control of and use to generate income, but might not necessarily want to actually purchase the freehold of the entire property.
Okay, so simply there's a legal contract that contracts yourself and the current property owner, where you are taking control and not ownership of the property. You then have a right to utilize that property as and how you've negotiated. So you could potentially put a tenant in there and gain a return from the tenant in that interim, or you could, from a capital point of view, which is quite tricky when we're dealing with £1 million, £2 million properties that may or may not get planning permission. You could, in that interim time, you could get planning permission from the council, which would significantly uplift the value of the property. And then once you've got significant uplift in the value of the property, you could now get a loan against that, amongst that, which would help from the build perspective. And now all of a sudden you've gone from nothing, pretty much no money in, controlling a property, getting planning permission, getting the finance, and then getting the development finance to build it all out. Yeah. And then once you've done with that, there's, through the transaction process, the original owner can then get paid out. Is that about right, the way you look at it?
Exactly, yes. It's a secure way of enabling you to mobilise a deal without you having to initially purchase it, which would not make good business sense if you have no guarantee of getting the planning permission you need.
So you might be into thousands instead of hundreds and hundreds of thousands to secure £1 million property.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now, people are probably saying, oh, well, I don't have thousands to get in. Do you want to explain to the viewers the premise or the mindset of, if the deal is good enough, the money will come? So something along those lines. Let's just say you needed £20,000 to satisfy the vendor for this £1 million deal. Tell me about angel financing or bank of friends and family.
Yeah, of course. The you hit the nail on the head if the deal's the right deal. Now, there is, if you, for example, are saying there's a consideration of £20,000 on that scenario, that is an all-risk scenario, which I generally shy away from because I don't like losing money. In terms of raising capital, I wholly advocate that you just talk about your business. When I was in my career, people say, what do you do for a living? I'd always just be, just shy away from, I do that, because I didn't feel it was necessary to talk about it. People ask me now, and I say, this is what I do, and I'm excited and I'm animated. It's hard enough for me to keep as still as I am at the moment talking, because I am so enthused about what it is that we do. When I meet people at networking events or just telling people what I do, they go, how does that work? And I explain it to them. They go, oh my goodness, I didn't realise. And raising finance can be as simple as that. If you've got a great product, you understand what you do, which you should do if you're actually looking to raise capital. You should make sure you're educated and you understand your business. There's no reason why you can't raise capital. The one thing that is of paramount importance is that anyone else's money should be treated with more care and respect than your own. So the way in which we actually grew the business was that we wanted to, every time we try out a new strategy or develop into a new area, we use our capital first. Okay. And then, so it's slightly different, but again, that's one of the things that we believe sets us apart.
You built up on that part.
Yeah. So we'll say, okay, we want to try a development or a conversion of this particular type. Our funds first, tried and tested, and then we would work with investors. However, there's no reason why, if the deal is right and you've gone through the right processes to verify that that deal is right, you can attract investors. We work with investors all the time, and we are very fortunate that we now have this track record where we can show people that the projects that we have done, and then the returns that we give.
Okay, so the very question is, anybody out there that wants, how would they get hold of you? Flashed up your name, but what is your favorite?
So obviously I have the simplest name for everyone to remember. Facebook is Richard Peutherer, so Peutherer. You can email me. Our actual company email address is beinspired@inspiredequity.com, and our Facebook page for Inspired Equity is Facebook.com/Inspired Equity. So I'm always very eager to connect with new people. We're always looking to work on new deals, work with new investors. I also spend a lot of time with new people to the property industry. I was very fortunate to have a lot of people help me on my journey. I want to make sure I'm doing the same as well. So when people say, I'm struggling with getting my head around this, or is this a good deal, I love getting involved.
Awesome. The other quick way, if you want to know how to get hold of Richard, is obviously just go to the title above this video. There's little blue links. Click on the name. Who knows? It'll take you straight through to his webpage. Okay, Richard. Moving on. What makes you unique? What makes you and your business unique? What sets you apart from the rest of the crowd out there?
Yeah, I believe that it's I know that it's our approach. We see so many, not all, and I need to be very careful with that, but we see so many people investing in property that are either selling on bad deals or have a that will do approach. Our approach has always been that won't do. We want to question the norm. We want to break the status quo, because from the housing and planning minister, every tenant has a right to a safe and warm and loving living environment. And there are so many people that don't actually have that approach. We go way above and beyond what we probably need to do for particularly for our rental properties. But we have that belief that if I treat you as a great human being and give you a lovely home, people generally treat them and respect them incredibly well. And we get handed back properties at end of tenancies looking as crisp as they did when the person, if this is a family home or even an HMO room, they come back to us as crisp and as clean as when we first tenanted them. So that's key for us. We also like to make sure that we completely understand our clients. And we see our clients being in two areas. We have our clients as in the people that live in our rental accommodation or people that buy the properties that we're creating. And then obviously key to our business are our investors. Both of those two groups of people are equally important to us, and we want to make sure that we understand them. Our business isn't about us, it's about them. Without our investors, we don't continue to grow. And without the people that actually rent rooms for us or are actually buying the properties, then again, we don't have a business. And then the third link to that is that our suppliers, business partners, the people that help us get us to where we are, so the power teams, you referred to it, we treat them as if they were our clients as well. Because again, without them, we don't have a business. So it's not about us, it's about the people that are making Inspired Equity the company that we can make it be. Because without those three areas, we just don't have a business.
Those are such good points. There's three great points there, and I usually follow on from from points like that to try and ask, why is that important? But you neatly explained after each point why it's important is because it's essential for the business itself. Without that, so that's core to your ethics and values, which is vitally important. But without that, the business would cease to exist because you would just be one of the others. You wouldn't be who you are. You wouldn't have that unique standing in the industry. Now that standing or branding or vision that people have, how is that branding important to you? And how do you communicate that message that you just spoke to me now? How do you get that message out there so you end up working with the right people?
It's all about first impressions. Now, I thought I was good at marketing, and I'm not particularly good at marketing. But it's all about human connections with us. So it's not the brand of Richard and Nina, because the company does stand on its own 2 feet. We are just 2 people working in it technically. But every time whether we're representing ourselves on business or not, that the underlying brand of that is we like to exude that in everyday life. So being a respectable, upstanding, decent human being, and just sharing a story with people. Do we do Facebook campaigns to tell everyone how great we think Inspired Equity are? No. Should we? Quite probably, but we our investors very much understand our brand. Going back to the example I gave earlier, the brand, the feeling of what we do is known even within the local borough councils within which we operate, because they understand, oh, it's an Inspired Equity property that we're going out to license. I have a predetermined expectation of what it's going to be like. So I can't really put my finger on it, because it's something that from the point we set out and opened Inspired Equity for business, that's how we wanted everyone to feel about us as an organisation. A business that cares and that's actually doing the right thing.
Okay, so you don't go out and shout about Inspired Equity and blast it all over the place. You deliver through results, through ethical results.
Yes. Sorry, I'm being awfully modest and very British here, and thank you. I will. Yes.
Well, it seems to be the case. You're growing at a rapid rate. You're respected through the community. You're respected with your investors. You're respected with your team. Or else you wouldn't be where you are right now. And as far as I'm concerned, the only way to get there is through mutual respect. I don't see you as somebody that's commanding respect, but somebody who is earning respect, and earned respect comes through delivery. So I commend that. I think that's a fantastic approach. Okay, so balancing that out. Now we've dealt with all the nice, meaningful stuff. How do we balance out our life? Tell me about Richard and Nina. Tell me about how you balance work, and this is that work-life thing you were talking about earlier. Work and life and experiences and leisure in that. Where does the life fit in for Richard and Nina?
In terms of me balancing it, in a word, probably badly. It's
well, you keep you honest. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really, but I think I love what I do, so I could quite happily. I'm up 5 o'clock every morning without fail, and that's a great time for me to. I stretch my mind in that time, and then be able to crack on with things because it's that quiet time. I could, at the other end of the day, work till 11 o'clock because I like getting the job done, and it's so much fun growing a business. But I do have a balance. I could improve, I must admit. I love cycling. I love scuba diving. I have a great life with my wife. Sorry, I've got a great group of friends. My family are awesome too, and I enjoy the balance. The thing that's key for me though is I love what I do, so it doesn't always feel like work, but it's I do need to make sure, and I do regulate myself to make sure that I get that time where I can spend it. And hey, look, I go out on the bike and I problem solve because you've got that freedom, open space, and that clarity. So those are important as well. Just shifting what it is you've done throughout there. Fitness is important because fit body, fit mind. But yeah, I do get the balance just about right.
I think you're lucky in that you are working with a partner that does support you, and vice versa. And you are passionate about your business. I think you probably have a challenge if you're working in the business, doing what you're doing, working the hours from 5 a.m. till 11 p.m. in a job, and then you had to come home to an obviously upset and moody wife. But now that you are working with your and in that case, you wouldn't have a balance. But I think in this case, you have a unique balance in that you're working cohesively with a wife, and obviously successfully. So again, I think you're very fortunate to be in that position.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, good. So from now, we've spoken about where you were, what you're doing right now. What's the future for Inspired Equity? Talk to me. This is the old HR question. Where do you see yourself in?
Well, this is probably a perfect time not to shamelessly plug, but I mentioned at the beginning that I have two businesses. I, in December, set up a new business called Wealth Equity Partners.
Okay. And
this isn't to remove myself from Inspired Equity, because that will continue doing all the great things that it does. The new business I've set up with a good friend and fellow property investor, Thomas Spikowski. He's very, very experienced, been doing similar things in his business. But the purpose of the new business was that we see a lot of people trying to gather investment funds when those investment funds are required to get that person to their financial goals. And we've seen some nervousness in the market. So the purpose of our new business is, because Inspired Equity supports me independently, Thomas' business supports him independently, where the new business, the only goal is to create much greater returns for our investors. So it's all about them. It's a capital creation business. We will have some cash flowing properties in that, but it's all going to be about capital creation. So it's an exciting new time. We've got some, I can't talk about the deals yet because they're not done, but we're in negotiation with some fantastic opportunities that we're both incredibly motivated, and the last few weeks has been incredibly busy getting us out of the starting blocks. But great opportunity. Watch this space for more news on Wealth Equity Partners. But that business will continue to grow, doing capital creation, so development, commercial to residential conversions, residential to residential conversions, which is where you take a much larger property and then convert it into to apartments. So we're creating capital. Okay.
So you are, as per the title of the show, you are building returns.
Absolutely. Yes.
No, that's great. That's great to see. Now, this is the part of the show where I usually get you to speak to the listeners. You were touching on a slightly different tangent to the current business, in that you're looking to work with investors. So speak to the viewers. Tell them who are you looking for, what are you looking for, and how you can help them.
We're always looking to work with new investors. I don't want to start trying to sell, because I feel awkward in the forum in doing so. We know that we can create much greater returns than can be gained elsewhere. The way in which we operate with our investors is that we'll always sit down and understand what it is they're trying to achieve. We don't say, here's a portfolio of services or a menu of options, pick one and let us know. This is a personal process that we go through with each of our investors. We're also always looking for new deals, and we want to make sure that we are expanding our network with those people that can bring a deal that we will either joint venture with, buy the deal from, or whatever the situation.
What sort of deal, Richard?
Sorry?
What sort of deal?
Commercial to residential,
okay.
Residential to residential, small developments, so plot of land or something that we can change the use of. Anything that fits within our model and within the areas within which we operate. But we're...
Money parameters?
Sorry, say that again.
Have size parameters, building all this thing.
The 0 to 5 million is our is a sweet spot that we want to work to. It's certainly within our gift. We can be nimble in using those projects. We don't want to at this stage be tying ourselves into 18-month projects just purely because of market trends and such like. But ones where we can act swiftly, add value, and keep projects moving is key to us.
So turn them around and give the money back to your investors and create that relationship.
Yeah.
So the network, you touched on the network and attending networking events. I can see how that is fundamental to the growth of both businesses. How do you and what are you doing to get out there and build and grow and solidify your network?
I'm a prolific networker. It's so important. For example, we met at an event. Had we not spoken, I wouldn't be on your show this evening. Last Wednesday, I was in Scotland speaking on behalf of the IMN Scotland networking event. Had I have not networked, I wouldn't have met the person that runs that event, Jonathan Lau, and he wouldn't have invited me to speak. I have business partners, investors, suppliers, from insurance providers through to major investors. My now business partner, through to only a couple of months back, me speaking on stage in front of 2,500 people. If it wasn't for networking, none of that would have happened. And I thoroughly urge everyone to go out and network. It's so important for your business, creating connections. And as a result of networking, I can attribute pretty much everything within our business, because you don't raise capital sitting on your sofa.
Very true. So would you say a few pillars of your success is networking, finding the right deal, networking again, but that's more creating your power team. So the right deal, the right team, and the right level of network will enable all of that, which would enable the investor and create success all around. Would you say that's about right?
Yes, you missed.
Anything I'm missing?
You missed one thing that I think is the first and most important: education. Yes, education.
Okay.
If I wasn't able to understand a deal, I would do a bad deal. If I talk rubbish, investors would know. Everything always goes back to education. And if you're going to create a business, you need to know that business. And for me, I've been fortunate enough to, through networking, meet some people that are doing things that I can only dream of in the property arena. But because I've shown a willingness to understand or learn from them, and an absolute enthusiasm about the property industry, they have helped me on the way. But constantly refreshing my my knowledge, my education. Without that, then I wouldn't have a business. And with that, you can then go and network and be seen as credible. With that, you can go and raise money because you are seen as being credible. All comes down to that one thing, that's education.
Yeah, and that's probably why I have this show, that I provide a basis for an education to be passed out to people that are not aware of how to do things. This is what it's about. I'm showcasing the likes of your success, you're successful, and I'm gleaning the information that you have, and I'm passing that on to other potential novice people that want to get up and go. The output from the show as well will be a book, which will be released in Q2 of this year. It's going to be called Building Returns, and I'll ask you live on show, so you can come back and refer to this. Would you be comfortable if we quoted you in the book and obviously referred back to you?
Absolutely, and please do. If there's been so many snippets of sound bites I've heard over the last few years that have made such a difference to me, that if I can, just by saying something like education is key, and it helps someone go out and make sure that they find out how to do property correctly, and it means that they make money, then fantastic. So please do.
So you're not just about the money, then there's a heart and soul behind the man as well. Obviously, you have a very caring nature about you. What are you grateful for? Tell me about. Are you involved with charity, Richard, or in what way do you pay the gifts and the success you have? How do you pay that forward? The first part of the question, what am I grateful for? Some of the basic things. Health is key, so I'm grateful for that. You know, I've been fortunate to be able to wake up in the morning in a good mood, and that is something I'm very grateful for, because if you wake up in a bad mood, that generally sets the tone for the day, right? But there's always something great to live for, and even when it's bad, you've got to have a smile on your face. So I'm fortunate that I have this sort of happy persona, so I'm very grateful for that. In terms of giving back, I've raised a lot of money for a charity called DEBRA, which stands for Dermatolosa Epidermolysis Bullosa Research Association. It's a very small charity that, when I first got involved with it, only had 10 nurses that could deal with this condition. And it's the condition, you might remember a TV show that Channel 4 played some years back. It was called The Boy Whose Skin Fell Off. And it's this condition, epidermolysis bullosa, where the part of the skin organ that keeps it connected to your body doesn't actually work, and you just lose your skin. And it's in its worst form, life expectancy is only a couple of months, and in its best form, if I can explain it in that way, probably to mid-30s, where people with the condition generally suffer from a secondary condition that ultimately causes the issue. So I've done a lot of work with them. It's a lovely charity. My initial goal was to raise enough funds to just put an extra nurse in, because one extra nurse, in addition to 10, is actually a 10% improvement. But things snowballed in a positive manner, and the funds that I've raised, obviously there's a lot of people that were have been involved with that as well. I can't take all of the credit, but it's actually gone towards stem cell research to help them actually better understand the condition. So something I'm proud of. And one of the things we actually, one of the events, we cycled to Paris, and one of the guys was really struggling, and the only thing that kept him going was, he said, my legs are aching, he said, but I know what the children go through every day with this condition. So it's important. It's important to give back. And the larger charities, obviously, I do support. It's the smaller ones you can make a big difference. That it's really rewarding. That's brilliant. That really is heartfelt. That's fantastic to hear, Richard. Richard, we pretty much all out of time here, but I think we've covered it all. As I introduced you as a property professional and all-around good guy, and I think we've seen all of that in spades. You know how to build returns through property. You know how to make money out of property without using your own money. And at the end of the day, the all-around Mr. Nice Guy has got a huge heart and cares for and supports charities, and he's making a difference. He's not just a contributor, he's making a difference in the charity. So somebody that's making a difference, that's supported by property, from myself, I must say a humble thank you, you and Nina and Tomo that are going to be supporting this from here on in. So thank you very much. Richard, again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, John.
This has been no problem. It's been an honor having you on the show. This has been Building Returns, hosted by Radio W.O.R.K.S. I'm John Stokoe. Catch us next week where I'll bring you another global entrepreneur that's making difference in the world of property. Again, Richard, thank you very much. And
thank you, John. Thank you.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye.